red Delver in Legacy, and that's what he's doing here.
Yeah, this is a slightly more aggressive burn-oriented take on the Rug Delver strategy. Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning, a couple copies, main deck of Price of Progress as well, a Fort Bolt to supplement Goblin Guy, Delver Secrets, Snapcaster Mage, and 2 copies of Grim Lavamancer as the creatures.
We're going to watch him play against Michael Segal, who we have seen on camera before, made some deep runs and some invitationals. His deck looks like it's all over the place. So we actually get a good look at his blue-white-red Delver deck, a deck that we are all very familiar with at this point. Owen Turtenwald winning Grand Prix Washington, D.C. with that deck. We've seen many players in the Open Series have some nice performances with it as well. He'll get it all organized, turned around, and upside down right now. He's against Schneider playing blue-red Delver again. The blue-red Delver deck, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's not, it's just a little bit different version of Delver.
A couple soft counters and a lot more burn spells. So you can think of it as a more aggressive version of Rug or a more controlling version of Burn. It's somewhere in the middle of those 2 decks.
Now Segal's deck is good to go. First of many fetch lands on the day. We begin with an Arid Mesa. He does go down to 19, and he will be casting a Delver of Secrets, likely the first of many of those today as well. Delver looking like it's the deck to beat right now in Legacy.
Some variation of it. We've seen Rug have a lot more success in the last couple of weeks than we have leading up to that. But Rug in some iteration, whether it's Bug, Rug, Blue-Red Delver, Blue-White-Red Delver, some core shell of soft counters and aggressive creatures is the thing to be doing in Legacy.
Well, Patrick, I want you to brace yourself because this is a Gitaxian Pro from Andrew Snyder. Chances are we'll see a few of these today as well. Your favorite Legacy card sees another Gitaxian Probe. Oh, baby.
Well, my favorite Legacy card is probably Fire Blast, but I think the Gitaxian Probe for a while was criminally underplayed. It looks like people are starting to get the memo. Interesting that Michael decided not to use his own Gitaxian Probe there. I wonder if he's just familiar enough with Andrew's resume to say he's probably playing Blue-Red Delver, and I would prefer to avoid taking these 2 points of damage if I could avoid it.
It also wouldn't surprise me, too, because he has a Force Will in his hand, and that's his only other blue card. So I could see him wanting to leave that there. And he's also got a Stoneforge Mystical Wasteland, some other stuff over there. You see a Fort Bolt going to take care of the Delver here, and Segal has no interest in actually saving that Delver of Secrets with the Force Will. Now, I think the reason he doesn't save it is because he is familiar with the fact that Schneider does play blue-red Delver. He's got a lot of burn spells to be able to kill a Delver of Secrets.
It is unlikely that that one Fort Bolt is going to be all the removal that Andrew presents for the entire game, so he may want to just save this Force Will to protect his Stoneforge Mystic, which may be able to win the game just by itself.
So we're going to see a Gitaxian Probe here now from Segal. There's a Delver of Secrets, a Force of Will, a Snapcaster Mage, a Brainstorm, and 2 copies of Misty Rainforest here for Mr. Schneider. Segal will write that information down and draw a card in just a moment. We also saw Segal pick up a Ponder for his draw step for the turn, so he does have a blue card to go along with the Force of Will. Also, again, does have the Stoneforge Mystic. And he's going to play that Stoneforge Mystic. And there it is. It's going to come in. That's a Force of Will. Going to remove some sort of blue card. We're going to see.
I think Michael might have forgotten to draw first.
Pretty sure he drew Volcanic for that. I'm pretty sure. But you can card count. I actually think you might be right. I would ask
so we're going to see a fight over here, this Force of Will here.
Yeah, it looks like he forgot to draw a card. You see him draw a card there. It's because he actually forgot to draw a card from the Gitaxian Probe.
Okay.
So he was not drawing a card mid-Forceful, I can promise you that. Because, Patrick, that would be cheating.
No, that would be cheating.
And that's unacceptable behavior. Force of Will going to be countered by Segal's Force of Will. So a battle over a Stoneforge Mystic here. I'm a little surprised to see this.
Well, Michael did take a look at his hand this turn with the Gitaxian Probe. Sees that he has no way to remove this thing right now. So this might be a window for him to just win the game outright if he's able to get this Batterskull into play unchecked.
It's almost impossible for Schneider to actually beat Batterskull once it's in play.
Correct.
Or at least very hard.
Schneider, you see he's got 2 lands in Snapcaster Mage. He could get to Fork Bolt, but that's going to be too late. So he's likely going to have to brainstorm in his turn looking for Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning to be able to answer the Stoneforge Mystic before Batterskull enters play.
How many effects does he have left to take care of that? I know he cast a Fort Bolt already, but I think it's 4 bolts and 4 chains probably.
Yeah, that's it.
So a little 8-hour. That's easy.
Brainstorm gets you a lot of looks at it.
Yeah, that's easy. 8 outs is simple. But Snapcaster Mage is not going to do it right now, so Snyder's going to have them out, and he's going to take a draw. It's a Scalding Tarn, going to play a Misty, sacrifice that. We'll see if it's going to be Basic Island or if it's going to be Volcanic Island. He does know that Segal does have a Wasteland in his hand, so he's going to go with the altered Basic Island.
Another element of this Blue-Red Delver deck, of course, is that it plays Price of Progress itself, so whenever Andrew has the opportunity to get basic lands, he's going to prioritize that.
And so he will shuffle up here. You see a smile on his face. He knows he needs to find a lightning bolt or a chain lightning right now to get that Stone Forge Mystic out of the way. This isn't the first time we've seen him rub his hands together. He's 0 for 2 on hand rubs this weekend.
It's not been good so far.
I would maybe consider stopping the hand rub. How's he do this time? A Ponder, a Misty? That's 0 for 3 on hand rubs.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, and that's going to be just enough for him. He's going to pack it up and pack it in. Unable to find a lightning bolt or a chain lightning, knows he can't beat the Batter Skull, and we are underway with some very fast legacy action here.
Andrew with a fast concession, but that is, I believe, just correct, as his deck cannot beat Batter Skull once it's in play.
As someone who knows Blue-Red Delver as well as he does, I also think that he knows that, yeah, if a Batter Skull gets into play in game 1, also, he's kind of brainstorm locked there since he already fetched right away, so he knows the card that he's going to draw. Sure, he has a Ponder, but he's in a world of trouble at that point.
He's doomed, and he knows it. So Andrew's just going to move on to game 2.
He'll pick it up and pick it in. We'll take a look at his sideboard to begin things. What do you see?
3 copies of Surgical Extraction, 3 Lava Spike, 2 Pyro Blast, 2 Sulfuric Vortex, 2 Smelt, 2 Flusterstorm, 1 Price of Progress. The Lava Spikes look a little weird. Generally, what's going on when these are in the sideboard is in fair matchups where you're not really that interested in Force of Will, you cut the Force of Wills to become more of a burn deck. In this matchup, I expect him to bring in the Smelts. I don't know if he's going to want Force of Will or not. It is not the best here, although Stoneforge Mystic represents such a threat that Andrew may want to have additional tools to fight over it. I think he'll want the extra Price of Progress as well, as Blue-White-Red Delver is all non-basic lands.
Other side of things, we take a look at 2 Rest in Peace, 4 Meddling Mage, 2 Grim Lavamancer, a Wear and Tear, a Sword of Feast and Famine, Grafdigger's Cage, 2 copies of Red Elemental Blast, a Flusterstorm, and a copy of True Name Nemesis to go along with the 2 in the main deck. I like True Name a lot here if he's able to get it down, as it's a card that Schneider cannot get off of the board. You may like Flusterstorm as just an additional counterspell. Grim Lavamancer seem quite good here as well, and I think you can make an argument for Red Elemental Blast. Seems like it's pretty good, though.
For sure. It's interesting. Andrew definitely has a lot of targets, potentially for Flusterstorm. He's very spell-oriented. But the fight might be over creatures, just stemming Andrew's early tide of beaters. So I'm not sure if Michael's going to want to go too overboard with any sort of Spell Pierce, Flusterstorm style setup. May just want to emphasize his removal spells and creatures of his own.
So both players will sideboard and shuffle up here. You see Schneider's already ready to go. You have to imagine he's played this matchup enough times, and he knows exactly how he wants to sideboard and exactly what his game plan is moving forward.
Yes, it's a little bit of a tough matchup of mine for Blue-Red Delver just because Stoneforge Mystic is such a threat, and Swords of Plowshare is so good against Andrew as well.
Yeah, it does seem like it's pretty difficult. I mean, if he can get some Price of Progress draws together, things are definitely going to be in his favor, but that's not always the easiest thing in the world to do. So we'll see what ends up happening here between these 2 players. Always fun to see some Delver decks begin the day, but hopefully we'll also see some brews along the way.
Yeah, these Delver decks all kind of have their different characteristics and cards they're strong against and weak against, so it's compelling to watch them go against one another because you get some sense of what the strengths and weaknesses of the various decks are.
Don't forget as well, last weekend when we were in Cincinnati, Delver making the finals, Rug Delver, but losing to Pierre Nystrom, playing Death and Taxes, who was actually off to a really nice start at Grand Prix Minneapolis this weekend as well. I know that he's kind of traveling around the States before heading back to Europe, and he's kind of making his name out here.
Is he in the area for the Pro Tour, or is he just...
I'm not sure if he's qualified for the Pro Tour or not, actually. I just know that, obviously he was in Cincinnati last weekend, which was a surprise to you and me after talking to him after the tournament. He just said, I'm kind of making my way through the States here for a couple of weeks. Won that tournament. I know he was doing well in Minneapolis. Not sure about how he's doing now. And then, I mean, truth be told, it wouldn't surprise me if he was here for the Pro Tour. Very, very skilled player. Watching him play Death and Taxes was a delight last weekend.
It would be somewhat curious if he was traveling stateside just for some opens and some
I like it. I like it.
I like it too. I'm just saying that the most likely story is that there's some big event he's here for.
I came to get my game on.
I mean, he's already won a Legacy Open.
Yeah.
I mean, the trip may even already be profitable. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. We will definitely see.
It is unlikely because traveling around like that's very expensive. But he did have a good weekend last weekend, and
maybe he's got a lot of frequent flyer miles. Have you considered that?
Possibly, yeah.
I'm just saying it's possible. Craig Bargo was the Rug Delver player.
Right.
Some people are asking at home who lost in the finals. And actually, he's here doing battle again. So see if we do have the opportunity to put him on camera. A pretty good Rug player that we watched last weekend before losing the finals to Nystrom playing Death and Taxes.
Nystrom played that tournament very skillfully.
Yes, he did.
He was impressive. Hope he's doing well in Minneapolis.
Yeah, we're going to see.
I mean, you and I saw right away. We had him on camera earlier in the day where we didn't really know who this guy was. He was playing against Greg Smith, and we said, this guy's really good. once that match was
Didn't
over.
take long.
Yeah, we
figured
figured it out right away.
Something about Europeans and death and taxes, man. It's their
I love
bread
that deck.
and butter.
Although Pear claimed that he was surprised by that stereotype.
I don't know. I mean, Thomason of Olsen,
Sure.
you know,
But he's one European among,
Michael Bull,
millions and millions.
Michael Bundy.
There are
That's 2.
several million Europeans.
Christopher Larson, that's 3. All death and taxes, that's all I'm saying.
I think you're thinking of Joel Larson.
No, I'm thinking of Christopher Larson.
Oh, okay.
There is a Christopher Larson, that's what I'm thinking of. Very tall man, top 8 at Grand Prix Miami. Get off me.
Oh, right.
Get
Yes.
off me. Don't ever test me again. Gataxian Probe, gonna reveal a Snapcaster Major Brainstorm in a couple of lands. How dare you think I would be wrong
I'm sorry.
about something like that?
I take it all back.
Thank you. I've moved on.
Pretty weak hand here for Andrew.
Not the best.
Really needs this Brainstorm to find him action and a fetch land, which is asking a lot.
For Brainstorm? Nah. Brainstorm can take care of that. Segal, is going to sacrifice Nerd Mesa. He knows it's safe to go get a red source of mana and take care of this Delver Secrets. And that looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. A Volcanic Island will allow him to do that. Now he's even in more trouble, I think. This is where things get really hairy. Because there's just a very large reliance on the Brainstorm. There's not even a fetch land in the grip to shuffle away with the Brainstorm.
It's possible Michael here may have waited for Andrew to brainstorm first on his upkeep, because now you're allowing Andrew to brainstorm in his main phase, looking at one more card before potentially shuffling. This is minor stuff, but if you know for sure you're going to bolt and Andrew doesn't have a way to interact with it, and he's nearly certain to brainstorm in the upkeep, Michael might have been better served just waiting a little bit.
Time to go brainstorming here. No fetch land, but a Price of Progress along with a Sulfuric Vortex are cards that are found here for Schneider. It's time to put a couple back. That's what he's going to do. It looks like 2 lands are going to go back, but no fetch land among those cards. So he is basically Brainstorm locked at this point. He knows what he's working with, and soon he'll know what his opponent's working with, as he does have a Gataxian Probe. But right now, it's Goblin Guide, and it's an attack. If Goblin Guide does resolve, because it looks like Segal is considering maybe a Force of Will here, and he says, all right, that's fine. Take a look. It's a Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, Seagal's a little light on action here, just lands a Force of Will and a blue spell. But I think, given how light he is on action and the fact that he has Brainstorm against an opposing Goblin Guide, you'd rather just let this hit come through.
Lightning Bolt to draw, which the Goblin Guide did reveal, so you have to imagine Goblin Guide is not very long for this world. Segal with a couple copies of Wasteland in his hand, but probably not the best to fire those off when you know your opponent has a decent chunk of lands in the hand from the Gataxian Probe.
The Goblin Guide may end up being kind of long for this world, because what happens in a lot of these spots when you know your opponent has a removal spell is the Goblin Guide player is unwilling to attack with their Goblin Guide, and the player with the removal spell is happy to just sit and wait for other threats to come out. So sometimes there is a bit of a waiting game, although Michael's having none of it.
He's just going to do a little bit of denial here with a Wasteland and a Lightning Bolt on the Goblin Guide. A little surprising there to me. So I think, he could certainly open up the possibility for just letting Goblin Guide attack first.
Yep.
Brainstorming with that on the stack, put a land back, make sure you actually get to draw land, and then bolting it. But we'll see how it ends up working out for him. As you see Gataxian Probe here from Schneider, going to pay the alternate casting cost and take 2 to do so. Force of Will, Brainstorm, 2 Tundras, and a Flooded Strand here for Segal. Snyder's going to record that information. He's going to draw a card that he does know about because of the Brainstorm and his inability to fetch. So this will be the island that he knows. And you see his hand right now with the Price of Progress, the Sulfuric Vortex, that Snapcaster, and those 2 lands.
Pretty powerful hand.
Not so bad. Not so bad. Snapcaster's going to do a lot of work this game, though, and there it is. He's going to cast that and flashback Gataxian Probe.
Oh, yeah.
It's Delver all over again.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
There's a mountain. So many Gataxian Probes. You have to be just thrilled.
Gataxian Probe Snapcaster makes me way too happy.
Here's a Brainstorm from Segal. Hit 1 and 2. Let's make it 3. Probe, along with Daze and Delver. I don't think you could have drawn it up any better here to start the day.
Oh, yeah. Someone cool me off.
It'll be time to put back 2 cards. And then a fetch land will make it a perfect Brainstorm. It looks like Seagal's happy to put back both of those Tundras. Gonna sacrifice and gonna play a Delver Secrets here in just a moment. But let's see what land he searches up first. It will be a Tundra that he just placed back on the top of his deck.
That was a loaded Brainstorm.
Not bad, yeah.
Michael went from having no action to having a full hand.
It's almost like you're saying that Brainstorm's a really good Magic card.
It is one of the best.
Perhaps we should give it a try sometime.
I'd give it a shot from time to time. It's never stuck.
My problem is I think if you have brainstorm in your deck, it's just too easy.
It is really easy to win games.
I like a challenge.
It does make it very easy to win games.
If you win a match without having brainstorm in your deck, you should be rewarded 4 match points.
It is.
What do you think?
It's not easy to do.
Yeah. What do you think? Delver's Secret's going to come down here. Schneider going to draw a card for the turn. Mystery card coming. It is a copy of Forked Bolt. That is a pretty nice draw right now.
Yeah, especially since you didn't really have an answer to this Delver Secrets going into the turn.
The question out here for Schneider is, do I want to cast this Forked Bolt or do I want to try to resolve this Sulfuric Vortex? Starting by attacking for 2 is not a bad place to be, but I don't think it's impossible that Segal trades here, and he will trade.
Trying to preserve his life total, which I respect.
There's Sulfuric Vortex. Can't imagine that's resolving, and a Daze is going to take care of that. So Segal will untap. He will take a draw here. Grim Lavamancer the draw for him. He's going to play that Volcanic Island again. Certainly cognizant that his opponent has Price of Progress, and he's going to cast Gataxian Probe here. See that Price of Progress along with the Forked Bolt and another Volcanic Island.
Michael is being very good about being mindful of his life total through all of this.
Have to be against this deck.
Yeah.
See Segal here. Again with a Ponder along with the Grim Lavamancer. He's got that Force and Daze as protection. Looks like he's just going to go with the 1/1. A card I know you've activated a few times in your day.
It's true.
Here is a Ponder from Schneider off the top. He did not have that when the turn started. 3 cards to take a look at here for the Blue-Red Delver player. Another copy of Price of Progress, a Snapcaster Mage, and a Scalding Tarn. Wonder if he has interest in any of these cards.
Well, the Snapcaster Mage, I think he's got to be really interested now. He's got this Forked Bolt in his hand, which would be nice to flash back down the line. This Brainstorm potentially. I can't imagine him getting away from a Snapcaster Mage here.
And I'm going to take a look at the graveyard there just to know exactly what he's working with for Snapcaster Mage. Looks like he's going to keep him. Does pick up a copy of Snappy. Going to play Volcanic. This looks like a nice target for Forked Bolt, so he's going to head that way. 1 and 1. Wow, a Forcible protecting the Lavamancer. How do you feel about that?
I like that this play before the turn started. I do not like it now. When Michael saw Andrew's hand last turn, he was a little soft to this Grim Lavamancer. Didn't have a lot of ways of removing it besides his Forked Bolt. After he ponders and keeps, the odds that he's found some other way to answer this Grim Lavamancer are just too high. So if Andrew just drew and his first action was Forked Bolt, I would have been totally in support of using the Forcible here. Less so the case once Andrew draws a Ponder. So he just has so many random bolts and Snapcaster Mage that makes it hard to protect this thing.
Ponder here from Segal off the top. You saw him play the Wasteland first. He is going to, resolve the Ponder. He keeps it, picks up a Spell Pierce, and just passes the turn back with the ability to activate the Lavamancer or cast a Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce is actually pretty timely here because it can counter this Price of Progress. But you see that Segal may want to consider a little Wasteland myself action.
Yeah, this is a pretty aggressive line here from Andrew. He's looking at taking 4 himself, and Michael says, I just don't want to fight this fight. There is something attractive about maybe letting that resolve, but Andrew's deck is so much more aggressive.
And Wasteland's going to take care of that Volcanic Island now. Or is it? It will not. So here's a Snapcaster Mage into a Forked Bolt. Want to get that Grim Lavamancer off the table. It is much too important. Going to pass the turn back. Segal doesn't really have much to work with, but here's a Ponder off the top. They knew it was there. A Red Blast, a Delver, and a True Name Nemesis. Those are all very powerful cards.
Yeah, and the question now is, does he want to try to get this Delver flipped or, set Red Blast and use the Red Blast, or does he just want to cast True Name Nemesis as fast as possible?
The sequencing here, very important.
Yeah. Because he can say, take Delver, leave Red Elemental Blast on top, but then you're setting True Name Nemesis 3 cards down.
Yeah.
You're delaying that. Or you take True Name Nemesis now, but you do set back your Delver flipping.
Red Blast going to go to the grip. Segal going to pass the turn back over to Schneider. He's got a Price of Progress in his hand. Red Blast going to take care of that Snapcaster Mage. So Segal with no cards. Schneider now with 2. We'll see if he wants to fire off the pop right now. Sure, Scalding Tarn for the turn. Or is it better to wait?
With that wasteland up, I don't think it's very good to price right now.
Well, the thing that's interesting here is that if you price right now, you know, either you deal your opponent 6, or they wasteland themselves, either wasteland targeting the wasteland or wasteland targeting land. You're actually cutting off some of their lands. So I actually think it's a really interesting decision.
It is interesting. The thing is that it's not like Andrew's going to lose this opportunity to do it somewhere else down the line, because Michael's deck is all non-basic lands. And you're potentially leaving points on the table here because he might tap out and then you get to resolve it for sure. Or he might play a 4th land and then your price of progress has more value.
Chain Lightning going upstairs. Segal down to 3. Played his True Nemesis off the top. He's going to attack with that bad boy. Schneider's going to go down to 9. We know he's got a Delver coming. He's going to put that into play and hope for the best. Not much he can do. He's going to go wastelanding potentially, and he's going to go after this land.
It's a gutsy play, as now price of progress definitely kills him.
Lava Spike will do it as well. So
Boom.
We're going to go to game number 3. Schneider pointing to his head saying, I knew it was there. Headed to a 3rd game here between Blue-Red Delver and Blue-Red Delver. And you mentioned that Lava Spikes may come in here from Schneider, so not too surprising.
If he's brought in the Lava Spikes, it means for sure he's cut the Force of Wills, or at least most of them. That's the swap that this deck generally makes.
Yeah, it's a burn you out plan. That's what we're on here.
Sideboarding Lava Spikes is one of the wrinkles of Legacy that I enjoy quite a bit.
It's got some charm to it.
It does.
Yeah. It's really just kind of an in-your-face kind of statement.
Yeah.
You know what? These are so bad I can't start them, but they're just good enough that I can board them in.
And Force of Will is bad in most of the matches where I would want to be doing this sort of thing.
Yeah. Eric Rill just did walk the slip up, so he moves on. It looks like to 2-0 here. Probably playing some sort of Delver variant. We saw him win in Milwaukee a couple weeks back with his pretty innovative 4-color Delver deck. It's pretty sweet to watch.
It was out there. Basically blue-red Delver with Young Pyromancer splashing Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah. I liked it, though. I liked it. See if he can run it back this weekend. Again, him, Lisette, and Van Meter chasing those points. We know Lisette's on Miracles, and Van Meter actually on Blue-White-Red Delver this weekend.
Okay.
We said he likes to mix it up. Not sure how much experience he has playing that strategy, but should be fun to watch.
I've kind of soured on Blue-White-Red Delver.
Any particular reason?
I think people have just become much better at answering True Nemesis. There's just more Liliana of the Veils and more Golgari Charms, and people kind of understand the matchup a little bit better now. And in the absence of True Nemesis being that powerful, I don't think the deck is particularly good. I think it's the best True Nemesis skeleton because it's aggressive, plays with a bunch of equipment and all that kind of stuff, but people are just getting better at answering that card.
Yeah, True Nemesis is kind of interesting. There are the times where it's absolutely busted, and there are times where it's, rather mediocre to bad, but it does require you to build your deck with it in mind. That's for sure.
A lot of parallels to Wasteland.
Sure.
Sometimes Wasteland's game over. Sometimes it kind of doesn't matter, but you definitely need to be constructing your deck with that card in mind.
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer is, my deck is bad to Wasteland. The same way that the answer to True Nemesis is sometimes, my deck is bad against True Nemesis.
What if Wasteland was in Standard right now?
It would be really bad for Magic.
Okay.
Because it's generally speaking more fun when people cast their spells, as a rule.
Think that would make Mono Black Devotion even better? Maybe?
Yeah, yes, probably.
Oh, okay. But it's an answer to Mutavault.
That is true. But Shock is an answer to Mutavault. We don't need all the splash damage of Wasteland.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose that's true.
A 3/3 is an answer to Mutavault. Like, we don't, it doesn't.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be something that extreme to be an answer.
I guess I'm a bit of an extremist.
Yeah. Why not Strip Mine? Sometimes I lose to their swamps, you know what I mean? Just keep on listening to frickin' Night Veil Spectre. If I could Strip Mine them, they wouldn't even be able to cast it, you know?
That's right. That's the kind of attitude. That's the kind of attitude you should have. I like that. Both players going to take a look at their openers here. Segal going to begin things here with a Volcanic Island into a Brainstorm right now.
Not messing around. And he has the kind of opening that's really hard for Blue-Red Delver to beat, which is turn to Stoneforge Mystic with Daze backup. Sometimes that draw is really hard to beat. If it's Force of Will, it's almost a lock. And we saw that earlier in the match in Game 1.
Well, you mentioned that he has turn to Stoneforge Mystic. I think the problem here is that I don't think he has a white source of mana. I see another Volcanic over there. The thing I don't see is a Tundra.
Someone maybe should have perhaps put one of the lands on top of the old deck.
Goblin Guide here to stay.
Well, Michael can still choose to daze it.
Yeah, he could.
He might, but
I think Schneider would be happy if this got dazed. I don't think he would. Happy is the wrong word. I don't think he'd be upset.
Generally speaking, you want to be brainstorming and leaving the lands on top against the Goblin Guide deck. Then I don't even think Michael would be debating this. I think he would just let this Goblin Guide resolve.
He's easy. There's a daze. Almost showed the lightning bolt. Draw cards to Stoneforge Mystic. Gonna play the Volcanic Island again. We know there's another Stoneforge Mystic, excuse me, on top of Segal's deck. There's an island. This is a Ponder from Mr. Schneider. And that looks like it's gonna be a Spell Pierce. Well, you've kind of given it away now.
I respect the Spell Pierce here.
He's gonna let that resolve now. So 3 cards coming, a Volcanic Island, a Smelt, and a Lava Spike.
That is a working man's Ponder right there.
Boy, is that just a delight.
That is a blue-collar Ponder.
Here is some garbage.
Yeah. I have a land, I've got a Shatter, got a Bolt for your head.
Yep. And he will take the Lava Spike. We're going upstairs with Lava Spike. Oh, too tough to Spell Pierce that, I guess.
Yeah.
Here's a Wasteland past the turn back. Over to Schneider, who will take a draw. It's another copy of Volcanic Island. Excuse me, the first one for him in this game.
And Michael has done so much to represent the presence of Spell Pierce in his hand that I'm curious if Andrew's just going to try to Snapcaster or spell back this turn rather than, say, cast Sulfuric Vortex, respecting the possibility that this Vortex could just get hit with a Spell Pierce.
Looks like he's trying to play around Spell Pierce a little bit here. Going to play a Ponder like this. That's going to be good to go. So we'll take a look at Smelt again, along with a Scalding Tarn and a Goblin Guide. Looks like Goblin Guide's going to head to the top of the deck. Going to consult the hand beforehand. And he looks like he's happy. Going to take the Guide, resolve the Ponder, play the 2/2 Haste Goblin. How much damage do you think you've dealt with this card over the course of your career?
Uncountable sums.
Yeah, thousands.
Yeah.
It's going to reveal a Brainstorm.
Yeah, thousands is a safe bet.
Nice. Nice. Outside of the fetch lands, is that the best card from Zendikar?
It's the most powerful card from Zendikar. I would have to think about it a little bit. It's got to be near the top of the list.
Let's see what Segal wants to do this turn. Looks like he's going to start by playing Volcanic. We did just watch him draw a Brainstorm, however, so decisions, that's for sure.
The fetch lands are a clear #1.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even debatable.
Yeah.
Even if you hate fetch lands, they're a clear #1. Ponder, Ponder, and Spell Pierce are the cards drawn here.
So Michael playing the land here before the Brainstorm is a little curious because that means that he no longer has the ability to draw a white source of mana and then cast Stoneforge Mystic or Swords to Plowshares or whatever the case may be.
He's starting to be put a little under the gun here by Schneider. Those Goblin Guide points do add up.
Michael's got to try to play around a bunch of different stuff here. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It is not easy.
He's got to be worried about Price of Progress going upstairs, among many other things.
He's trying to leave up Spell Pierce. He doesn't want to put his shields down, but all of his blue mana is really valuable. He can't afford to spend turns not spending mana.
And also, he's in the situation now where, you saw that a little bit earlier where he was going to Spell Pierce that Ponder, then he didn't. Well, he might not ever get to, he might not ever get to use that Spell Pierce now. Mm-hmm. Because Schneider knows about it, presumably, because it was given away pretty well. But also, Schneider can just play around it accordingly or just run a spell into it if he wants to. So there's a Lightning Bolt. That's going to take down the Goblin Guide. Here's a Wasteland to go after the Volcanic Island. See if Schneider wants to do anything here. Doesn't look like he does. He may want to cast an end-phase Brainstorm with the thought that I'm going to use all of my mana on my next turn.
Well, he knows that there's a Tarn on top.
He put a spell there. Tarn is one of the options.
Oh, okay, he reset it. Okay.
There's the Tarn, along with the Chain Lightning and a Misty. Let's see what cards he wants to put back here.
Kind of a shame that he said it that way because this would be a great window to stick Sulfuric Vortex.
Yeah. That's probably the reason I thought we might see him cast a Brainstorm at the end of turn.
Yes.
To ensure that he would draw his third land and try to stick the Vortex. And he opts to cast it on the main phase. Going to play a Scalding Tarn. And just simply pass the turn back over to Segal, who is going to draw a Ponder off the top of his deck and cast it. So 1, 2, 3. He found a fetch land to find a white source of mana. I think that's the most important thing here.
It is really good for Segal, but if this opens up a window for Schneider to get Sulfuric Vortex into play and Michael does not have an answer in his deck, it may not matter.
Here's an Arid Mesa. Will Segal put the shields down for Stoneforge Mystic? The answer is no. Schneider going to untap. Going to take a draw. He knows what's coming. It's a Chain Lightning. Jockeying for position. Going to pass the turn back to Segal, who's going to sacrifice the Arid Mesa on his upkeep. Time to go search out a Tundra. He needs some white source of mana for that Stoneforge Mystic. And so after he shuffles up and presents, we'll see what he draws for his turn.
He's just got a lot of protection against Stoneforge Mystic. He has a Spelt in hand, multiple copies of Chain Lightning. He's not really that exposed to this card right now.
There's Stoneforge. See, Snyder's going to consult his hand. Take a look at his graveyard as well, kind of giving away that he has Snapcaster Mage.
Pretty hard to believe he has nothing here. And passing with 3 mana with these blue-red Delver decks, pretty suspicious.
There's Snappy. The question is, what is this going to target in the graveyard?
I'd imagine most likely Brainstorm. Most of his graveyard is sorceries besides, so.
So it looks like we're seeing if things are going to resolve here, and there is a sacrifice of the Scalding Tarn. So Snyder's going to go down to 18 and go dig out a land. Going to go get a Volcanic. And it looks like he's just going to cast the Brainstorm. That's in the bin. And there that is. We'll see if this does resolve, as again, we know that Segal does have a Spell Pierce. The question is, can he afford to Spell Pierce these effects, or is he supposed to save his Spell Pierces for the burn spells?
It's tough. I mean, this Brainstorm is so innocuous right now. And you know you're worried about so many different spells of Andrew's tech, most notably Sulfuric Vortex, if that's something that's on Michael's radar.
Segal not too sure what he's supposed to do in this situation. It looks like he wants to cast Spell Pierce. He tried to cast Spell Pierce a little bit earlier. He was unsure of himself if he wanted to do it on the Ponder then. He's unsure if he wants to do it on the Brainstorm now. But you got to cast the Spell Pierce sometime, it feels like.
You can't take it with you.
You cannot. No matter how hard you try, you cannot take it with you.
You cannot take it with you.
You see Schneider lays out his 4 cards, saying, hey, this is all I got. Nothing too special over here, just a couple Chain Lightnings. He's going to add 3 to it. And then, of course, put 2 back, a 3rd Chain Lightning, a Goblin Guide, and a Misty Rainforest.
Pretty loaded.
Eat your heart out, Chain Lightning man. A couple of cards going to go back, and now Stoneforge Mystic is going to go with Searchin'. The question is, what for? Likely Batterskull, but it could be Jite as well, as you see Segal bring that forward. It's a castable threat.
Yes. I still think the upside of Batterskull is too high.
It's almost like, if I'm Segal, I can't imagine my Batterskull actually getting into play.
Well, Segal has drawn the 4th land. So, I mean, he's just a mana away from being able to hardcast it.
All right.
If your Jite is bad, it's because Andrew has too many bolts. If Andrew has too many bolts, it's not like, you're not going to be cheating your Jite into play to any effect, you know?
I guess, like, my thought is, like, you can hardcast Jite and then you can find a True Name Nemesis and go that direction, where that play is not something that can happen with Batterskull.
Sure.
Now, he doesn't have a True Nemesis yet, but it's a card that he can run into that combination with the Jite is very difficult for Schneider's deck to beat. However, we do know that Schneider, I believe, has a Smelt in his hand, or at least he's had access to one for some time. You actually do see his hand. He does have the Smelt. Now, all of this is, kind of moot because he also has a Sulfuric Vortex in his hand, even though it's not in play yet, so. Segal trying to figure out exactly if he wants to play a land or not. It looks like he wants to, and he's going to play a Tundra and pass the turn back and represent Swords of Plowshare, Spell Pierce, and a bevy of other things. Pass it over to Schneider. Going to play a Misty and a Goblin Guide, maybe. Going to start with a Chain Lightning. Question is, does he want to drop down the 2/1?
I think he's going to play Guide this turn. He's been so mindful of Daze and Spell Pierce that I think that he's just going to do this instead.
Trigger is a Tundra. There's your 5th land for Batterskull. This is a Swords of Plowshares. That's going to take care of Snapcaster Mage.
A little odd for him to go after Snapcaster since Goblin Guide has a drawback, and Michael already has Red Elemental Blast that he's sideboarded in, so All other things being equal, you should be leading in with a blue permanent.
Schneider just going to pass the turn back. Segal at 12. Schneider at 20. Gain a little life from that swords. Just trying to finish him off is Schneider. Lightning bolt to draw here for Segal.
Interesting to see if Michael's willing to commit the 5th land here in the batter skull. He does basically just die to Price of Progress in that world and a number of other things as well. So the fact that Andrew's been passing with so many cards in his hand thus far, I think, you know, Michael's going to play a little bit cautious here because Andrew's been representing something big.
Segal looks like it's going to be a Ponder to start the turn. So a Delver and an Arid Mesa and a Stoneforge Mystic are the cards he's looking at. And he's going to shuffle those away very quickly. Not interested in any of those cards.
Doesn't need the Stoneforge at this point. He has his batter skull already. And another Stoneforge.
So away they go, and a mystery card coming here for him in just a moment. See if he can find something like a true name Nemesis. He drew Daze. We don't know if Schneider saw that Daze, but he certainly drew one. We can promise you that. And there's Stoneforge. And that's going to resolve. So now maybe it's time to go GT hunting. And there that is.
Nothing else to get, so.
Yeah. One of the best equipment of all time added to Segal's hand.
Probably the best equipment.
Maybe. Maybe. Kind of hard to say. It's sort of Feast and Famine, sort of Fire and Ice. Those are pretty good cards.
There's some other good ones.
GT's probably the best one, though. Batter Skull, too.
Batter Skull isn't even really a piece of equipment. It's kind of a thing.
Isn't it?
It's kind of a thing unto itself.
See if Schneider wants to start going ahead with these burn spells, or if he's going to try to keep containing Stoneforge Mystic.
It's tough just because if you go after Michael exclusively and it turns out that Michael has one counter spell, you're probably short.
Does not try to deploy his Sulfuric Vortex. Segal still had that 1 mana available to Spell Pierce it, so he's still playing around Spell Pierce the best he can, and presumably he saw the Daze that Segal dropped onto the table. Segal looks like he wants to cast Delver of Secrets.
The upside on Batter Skull is so high, though.
Delver and GT come into play. Segal going to pass the turn back. Day, Spell Pierce, Batter Skull to grip. Schneider has a good idea about all of those cards. Here's a Smelt. Maybe. Not sure if he wants to cast that just yet. It looks like he's going to wait. I honestly think that Schneider saw the Spell Pierce and the Daze.
Yeah.
So I think he knows all 3 cards in Segal's hand right now. Grim Lava Man to the draw. That's a pretty important one,
It's a great draw right here. He has the ability to kill this Delver of Secrets and deploy Grim Lavamancer.
Kind of like that.
It's a good turn. And with Smelt and Sulfuric Vortex, he definitely has this Batter Skull covered as well.
See the order in which he places threats. There's the Chain. That takes care of the Delver. That's the Mancer. Passes the turn back over to Segal, who will draw a card. It's a Wasteland. Will he drop down the Batter Skull? He does. How does he want to tap the mana for that is the question. I think he may have caught that. He caught himself. All right. There that is. Batter Skull going to come into play. Living Weapon trigger does resolve. Schneider going to untap and take a draw. Schneider knows, yeah, I can cast Smelt here safely around Spell Pierce and Daze. Get that Batter Skull out of here. So there that goes. And that's really important too because the rest of the creatures, for the most part, Grim Lavamancer can take care of. True Nemesis, however, is the end boss here. Grim Lavamancer the draw there for Segal. He can't even play it.
Yep. Andrew's shifted the momentum of this game quite a bit right now. And now Michael needs to find a removal spell before he can do much of anything. I suppose True Nemesis would also be a good draw here.
Lavamancer going to start to go to work on Segal's Light Total. He's down to 10. And Schneider does draw a card. Snapcaster Mage, pretty big one.
It gives him a lot of insurance. It gives him access to a Smelt if he cares about equipment, or another burn spell, or another cantrip.
Segal going to play a Ponder off the top of the deck. Hit 1, Red Blast, Force of Will, and a Wasteland. Not interested. I think somebody is digging for a True Name.
or a bolt, or a plow.
Yeah.
Something that allows him to get his own Grim Lavamancer and play it, at which point things become much more manageable.
Oh, Skull Clamp. That's the best equipment.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's banned in so many formats that I forgot that even
Yeah,
existed.
me too. Me too. Thanks, Twitter.
Yeah, you are totally correct. The correct answer is Skull Clamp. Excuse me.
It's escaped our minds because, well, what the heck were they doing?
Yeah. I did play in a Black Pro Tour where it was legal and did not play it myself.
Yeah, I bet you did great there.
I did not.
That's a shock.
I played the 20 Shatter deck.
How's the 20 Shatter deck against the draw 2 cards a turn deck?
I went 1 and 3 against
Yeah,
Affinity.
there you go. Wastelands are going to take down those volcanic islands.
Good play from Michael there, just trying to pin down the mana here because he still has Pierce and Days in hand. So Andrew making land drops is still significant.
I bet you would be good at playing Affinity too.
What's up?
I bet you would be good at playing Affinity.
I'm not really that good at sort of like the super tactical shifting around counters game. That's not my strongest suit.
All right. Not everyone can be Alex Machelton.
It's true.
Going to sacrifice a couple fetch lands here. Will Schneider going to go down to 18.
I still would have been better served rolling the dice in the Affinity Mirror than playing with Troll Acetic and Glissa at the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
But it is not my strongest suit.
Lessons learned.
Some you only need to learn once, man.
You have the old Mulder Slug as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
top of the old curve.
Yeah. Marcus Mulder Slug has tricked many a person. This is a Daze. This is an interesting play here. It's going to be Daze so that he cannot activate the Grim Lavamancer. However, Grim Lavamancer can still turn sideways, and that's exactly what it's going to do. Segal going to go down to 7.
Saves him a point of damage. The upside of this play is that if Segal draws another...
Oh,
boy.
Ow!
If he draws another targetable creature this turn, I was going to say, then he can play both and maybe actually get Jitte active. This makes it much easier.
I think Schneider's last card is a Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah.
So I think he's still okay. That's played land yet. Here comes the Grim Lavamancer too. Oh wow, this is actually gonna be a pretty nice turn here for Schneider. He'll be able to untap and take a draw. Is that a Price of Progress?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
That's much easier.
Yeah,
Okay.
That'll clear it up. That'll really clear it up. You know, I was gonna talk about how you can activate Lavamancer to kill Lavamancer, play Snapcaster Mage, flashback to Smelled on the Jitte. That turns sweet. It's kind of a racing situation. Or he could just draw Price of Progress and end the game, which is what he did. And that's why Andrew Schneider is now 2-0. Blue-Red Delver moving on over Michael Segal and Blue-White-Red Delver.
I thought he had a price in the graveyard.
I do not believe that is the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the plan that turn was to smelt your Jitte with the Snapcaster Mage, Lavamancer your Lavamancer, and then, you know, it's kind of like a racing situation or a staring contest with the true name. But I think that Schneider's a little bit ahead there.
Yeah, Michael's out of equipment because they've both been destroyed.
Yeah.
Any plow or bolt he has to kill Andrews. Lavamancer sets Michael really far ahead, but he doesn't have that much time to find it.
No. Either way,